Not every island is doomed to sink. Some stand tall above the waves, shielded by volcanoes, cliffs, and the stubborn will of the people who call them home. In a warming world, these forgotten islands may be the last strongholds of resilience. In this episode of Earthspective, we uncover the islands most likely to endure, places where geography, climate, and culture offer a surprising shield against collapse. Réunion and Mauritius. In the Indian Ocean, not far from Madagascar, two islands rise like fortresses. Réunion and Mauritius share volcanic roots, making them elevated and rugged compared to the low-lying Maldives. Their cliffs and peaks provide natural protection from rising seas, while cooler uplands offer refuge from tropical heat. Both islands also benefit from stronger economies and infrastructure than many of their neighbors. Mauritius has positioned itself as a hub of renewable energy innovation, while Réunion, as part of France, enjoys support from European resources. Together, they've invested in climate adaptation, from cyclone-proof housing to ecosystem restoration. Yet resilience is not only about policy. Both islands are rich in biodiversity, from coral reefs to volcanic forests. Protecting these ecosystems is protecting their own survival. Réunion and Mauritius show that survival is not only about luck of geography, but about how societies choose to adapt. Scottish Highlands and Islands. At first glance, the Scottish Highlands don't look like a refuge. They are windswept, rainy, and often shrouded in mist. But in a warming Europe, those very qualities become strengths. Cool, wet summers are projected to remain stable, even as southern regions bake in heat waves and droughts. The highlands are also at little risk from rising seas. Rugged mountains dominate the land, and many communities sit high above the water. Abundant rainfall feeds rivers and lochs, while vast stretches of open land provide resilience against shortages. Scotland has embraced renewables, and the Highlands are dotted with wind farms and hydro projects. Crofting traditions, small-scale farming that works with the land, further anchor communities in balance. Remote, quiet, and often overlooked, the Highlands and Islands remind us that resilience is sometimes found in places that appear ordinary. In tomorrow's climate, damp and steady may be a blessing. Tasmania. South of mainland Australia lies Tasmania, cooler, wetter, and far more resilient than its parched neighbor. While the mainland burns with drought and fire, Tasmania's climate remains buffered by the Southern Ocean. Its forests stand lush, its rivers flow, and its soil stays fertile. Tasmania has long leaned into renewable power. Hydroelectric plants provide most of its electricity, giving the island near-complete energy independence. Conservation programs protect its millennia-old forests, not just as carbon sinks, but as living systems that regulate rainfall and shield biodiversity. Communities here are shaped by distance. Islanders share a sense of stewardship, with farmers, ecologists, and local leaders working together to preserve both land and livelihood. In a century of growing scarcity, Tasmania stands as an island of abundance, proof that foresight, conservation, and cooperation can turn geography into sanctuary. Faroe Islands. In the North Atlantic, between Scotland and Iceland, the Faroe Islands rise steeply from the sea. Rugged cliffs and dramatic peaks define their landscape, lifting communities safely above the threat of rising oceans. Here, cold seas and steady winds create a climate far more stable than much of Europe. The Faroes are small, home to only about 50,000 people, but size can be a strength. Low population density means fewer pressures on land and resources, and close-knit communities are quick to adapt. Fishing, long the backbone of Faroes life, sustains the islands, while experiments in wind and tidal energy promise a renewable future. Isolation poses challenges, but also protection. The same remoteness that makes the Faroes hard to reach also shields them from the instability of crowded continents. These storm-lashed islands may be cold, but in the face of climate upheaval, they are also secure. The Azores. Far out in the Atlantic, the Azores scatter like emeralds across the sea. 9 volcanic islands, rising steeply from the ocean floor, their cliffs and craters give them natural defenses against rising seas. The Gulf Stream smooths their climate, keeping summers mild and winters gentle. Isolation has shaped a culture of resilience. Fishing, farming, and small-scale self-sufficiency remain central to life, while renewable energy projects, from geothermal to wind, now sustain much of the archipelago. Here, geography and culture work together. Volcanic soils nurture crops, while rugged terrain keeps expansion modest. For Europe, increasingly scorched by droughts and heat waves, the Azores may stand as an island of moderation. They are not immune to storms, but their balance of climate, elevation, and resilient communities makes them one of the Atlantic's quiet strongholds. Tristan da Cunha. In the middle of the South Atlantic lies Tristan da Cunha, the most remote inhabited island on Earth. Fewer than 300 people live in its only village, Edinburgh of the Seven Seas, beneath a towering volcanic peak that climbs over 2,000 meters. Here, remoteness defines life. There is no airport, only a few ships per year. Supplies are rationed carefully, and emergencies are met with community resilience. Yet, isolation has also protected the islanders, binding them into one of the world's most self-reliant communities. Tristan's climate is cool, wet, and steady, avoiding the extremes devastating elsewhere. Fertile volcanic soils provide food, fishing sustains livelihoods, and renewable projects slowly expand independence. But resilience here carries risk. In 1961, an eruption forced the entire island to evacuate. They returned, rebuilt, and endured. Tristan da Cunha is more than a curiosity of remoteness. It is proof that survival depends as much on human cooperation as on geography. New Zealand's Southern Islands. New Zealand is often called a climate refuge, and its southern islands reinforce that reputation. The South Island and Stewart Island, with their cool climate and abundant water, may become some of the most stable havens in the Pacific. Snow-fed rivers flow year-round from the southern Alps, ensuring steady freshwater even in drought. The islands are rich in farmland, producing food not just for themselves, but for export. Renewable energy, hydro, wind, and geothermal, already forms the backbone of New Zealand's grid. Culturally, New Zealand blends indigenous traditions of stewardship with modern resilience. Communities are small but deeply connected to the land. Politically stable, globally respected, and geographically isolated, the Southern Islands are already high on lists of potential refugees. Here, resilience isn't just possible, it is actively cultivated. In a century of climate instability, New Zealand's Southern Islands may stand among the safest harbors. Iceland. At the edge of the Arctic Circle, Iceland thrives on extremes. Volcanoes, glaciers, and geysers dominate the landscape, yet this very geology has become its strength. Geothermal and hydropower make Iceland almost entirely energy independent, a rare achievement in a world of resource scarcity. High elevation and rugged terrain keep it safe from rising seas, while a cool, ocean-buffered climate shields it from severe heat. Harsh winters are nothing new, and Icelanders have long adapted their lives to storms and cold. But resilience is more than survival. Iceland's strong democracy, social cohesion, and investment in sustainable industries make it a model of adaptation. Here, nature is not only endured, but harnessed. In the story of climate resilience, Iceland stands as proof that extremes, if embraced wisely, can become foundations for stability. Not all islands will vanish beneath the waves. Geography, culture, and resilience shape different futures. From volcanic fortresses in the Indian Ocean to the misty Highlands, from the edge of the South Atlantic to the icy rim of the Arctic, these forgotten islands remind us of one truth: survival is never just about luck. It is about how communities adapt, how ecosystems are protected, and how people choose to endure together. These islands are not only sanctuaries, they are lessons. Lessons in resilience, foresight, and hope. When we imagine the future, let's not only picture what we'll lose, but also what might endure. Thanks for watching Earthspective. If you enjoyed this journey into the forgotten islands of resilience, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you'll be with us for the next story about our changing world.